Project WiCCED has a fun name. It stands for Water in the Changing Coastal Environment of Delaware. And one of the things that I love about the name Project WiCCED is it talks about the challenges of water given the changes that we are seeing. If we're going to make improvements and understand the threats, these are going to be incremental changes. These are wicked problems that aren't solved instantly, but they are solved by many people working together to make incremental changes that make a big difference in the long term.
We're lucky in Delaware because it's a small state, and so we can develop strong relationships between academic institutions, between communities, the government, the private sector, etc. And so if we communicate with each other, then we're able to identify the needs of the state and the communities, and we're able to translate those needs into useful research that can then potentially be translated into sound policy.
When we look at the whole WiCCED groups, it is complete diversity, complete inclusion. It's like amazing. Every sector that you can imagine in Delaware is part of it. I would say from state agency, even the federal support, and we do have all these institutions throughout Delaware is part of it. And the students' body, it's amazing opportunities for them. It is like exciting being out there with us on the boat or measuring all the marsh ecosystem. Even for faculty, I am so excited to be part of this program.
As a postdoc at Del State, my job is to study the salinity content of marsh grass.
Salinization is the increase in salt content of soil and groundwater and surface water. You only need about 1% seawater to ruin your water resource. As climate changes, sea level is rising and storms along the coast are increasing in frequency and intensity. And that means that the saline surface water is moving inland. And so farms that are along the coast are at risk for salinization and damage to their crops.
We collect along the way high, low, and medium salinity plants to look at gene expression. We isolate RNA from each of our samples and then we send it off for sequencing. What we want to do is we want to look at the differences in gene expression across the samples that we sent, and we want to compare, is there a difference between plants that are in high salinity, medium salinity, and low salinity concentrations?
It is important that we need to get the public to understand the oyster restoration and even oyster aquaculture operation help overall everybody. Oysters, we call them a keystone species. They are ecologically and economically important species. They actually filter a lot of water because they are the filter feeder. They actually remove a lot of particulate matters as they are filtering. In general, they help purification. Literally, it's almost like a kidney of the water system.
One of the key things that we wanted to do with Project WiCCED is to help inform policy in our state. Not direct policy, but inform it and make sure that it's reflecting the citizens' views of the states. And an example of that is HB 200, a bill passed back in 2021 that's doing a $50 million investment each year in improving water quality in the state. And Project WiCCED was important in helping inform that because the initial ideas came out during the early days of COVID, when it was unclear whether the state would want to continue to invest in environmental issues or other issues facing it. And our scientists worked at understanding the citizens' views of the issue and helped inform policymakers that there was a strong support for environmental improvements, even in the midst of a pandemic.
We know that the more voices we hear, the more successful any initiative will be. We want to hear from people who are affected by water quality issues. We want to hear from people who are developing solutions and also those who can potentially implement those solutions.
I believe that including Delaware Tech, Del State, and University of Delaware all in this project allows the transfer of knowledge between HBCUs, PWIs, and community colleges, which may give people the opportunity to learn things that they may not have learned at one of those institutions or the other.
Delaware is an exciting spot to do this work. It's a small state, the second smallest, and yet it allows us to know each other well and work across academia, government, industry, nonprofits to try to improve the environment and the quality of life for people in our state. And so therefore, our research is nested within our state to bring important insights on the threats and solutions to the problems and have models created here in the state of Delaware is a small spot that could ultimately impact our region, our nation, and ultimately the world.